Hey guys, welcome back to my Practically Imperfect Life. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome to my channel. My name's Abby. I'm a homeschooling mom. I have one child left in our homeschool. He is a senior this year, and my oldest graduated last spring and is now a freshman in college. So I have a number of years of homeschooling experience under my belt from teaching my own children, and here on my channel I just want to be able to share the things that I've learned through the years, the experiences that we've had, the wisdom that I've gathered, and help you on this journey. So whether you are a brand new homeschooling parent or whether you have been at it for a while and are facing new challenges, my hope is that I can help you in some way. Now, today's video is part of what I hope to make into a couple of different video series about common questions. I have spent years looking at different homeschooling blogs, Facebook groups, even questions that have come in to me via email or comments on videos. And there are some questions that tend to pop up over and over and over again, which tells me that that's an issue that a lot of homeschooling families deal with. And a lot of times I look at some of these questions and I think, you know what, there was a point in our homeschooling journey where I had that same question. And I thought those would be ones that would be good to address and talk about. I do not intend any advice that I give to be like the end all be all of advice. My advice will largely be based off of my experiences and the things that I've seen along the way, or what I have seen work well for other homeschooling families that I am close with. So today's question, my big question for today is, what do you do if, as the homeschooling parent, you do not feel qualified to teach a particular subject to your child? Or if you're getting stuck, you just don't feel like you can understand or do justice to a subject. Now, when your children are younger, this is less likely to be the case, right? When you are teaching them basic math, when you are getting them into reading skills, understanding early books, which are likely books that you read once as a child, or if you need to flip back through and reread it, it does not take all that long, right? As far as sciences and history, you're introducing pretty basic things. And a lot of curriculum, especially for the younger kids, is pretty straightforward. It's open and go. You can follow the lesson plans. You don't have to do a lot of prep work. But as our students start to enter the middle school years and the high school years, yes, everything gets harder. And that's how it should be, right? We should be challenging our students more as they get older. The subjects should be more comprehensive. They should be diving into subjects deeper. But that does open the door for there to be things where we as parents feel underprepared to teach or unqualified to teach. Maybe it's a subject that you just did not do well in when you were in high school. And there's no shame in that, right? We're not all born math geniuses. We don't all write literary masterpieces. Science is not everybody's jam. That it's okay, right? And we're trying to actually teach our children that, right? It's okay if you aren't an expert in every subject. That's fine. It could be that you have just had a really long time since you've done that subject. You know, most of us graduate high school and we don't look at pre-calculus again until we're teaching it to our own kids, unless it's a part of something that you do for your job or for your degree. It might not be something that always comes up. So what do we do in those cases when we are feeling stuck? So there's a couple different routes you can take here. Now, me personally, I have always tried to limit the amount of screen time associated with school for my kids. There might be videos that they need to watch for some courses. There have been a couple of very small number of online classes that they have taken. But if it's a subject that you as a parent are really struggling with, that might be the opportunity for you to look for an online course or a course that has at least one online component, a teacher component. For example, there are within the math world, there are courses like Dive Math, which kind of goes along with the Saxon Math. There's Shoreman Math, where it is an all online math course. You have Nicole the Math Lady, who provides lessons and tutorial videos that fall along with Saxon Math. Teaching Textbooks, which is an online math program. So you might find some courses like that to be helpful, especially in the math world, where there is somebody who's showing them the lesson, has resources as a part of that website or that online course to help students who are struggling. You can look for ones that have options for you to do tutoring sessions as well. With Nicole, the math lady, you can get some extra features. With Shoreman Math, you can email Dr. Shoreman if you're really stuck on a problem. There are just different resources available with different courses. With subjects or with companies like BJU, they do offer some distance learning courses. Now, those aren't necessarily like live courses. You're watching recordings, but that is a teacher talking through the subject. You're watching the lesson video, and then the student has an assignment to do. Some things to keep in mind if you do go that route, right, is that these course videos can sometimes be quite long. And so you do need to make sure that you are blocking out time for your student to watch them. You also have to bear in mind that your child probably still will have some questions afterwards. So if you are very unfamiliar with something, it would not be the worst thing in the world for you to sit and watch those videos with them, or watch them before your student watches them, so you at least have an idea of what it is that's going to be covered. So that way you can kind of help guide them and be of more assistance when they're doing the assignment. But looking for online courses in those cases might not be the worst route to go. Now, if you are maybe under some budget constraints, because online courses do tend to be a bit more on the expensive side, sometimes finding a good co-op group for certain subjects is an option. Co-ops will vary in terms of what they offer, how often they meet, their pricing, all of those things. In our area, we have a couple of really good co-ops that offer a variety of courses. One that my kids both took at least one course at. I know that they have several different science courses, for example, where they'll meet at least one day a week to go through lectures, and then another day a week, and they do labs all together. So kids get the opportunity to hear about the science concepts and then do the labs. And then they're assigned work that they're supposed to be doing those other days of the week, and then bringing back in and being prepared for that class, that lecture class. That is a nice kind of like a hybrid way to do it, where the student does have independent work that they need to do at home, but they also do have somebody who is an expert in that subject there and available to help them on those days that they're meeting with their co-op. It's also a nice way to get lab experience if you don't really want to set up experiments and lab work in your home, or maybe you can't afford to get like all of the equipment that you need for that. They can have an opportunity to go in and check those things out. They also do something similar with things like writing and literature. So looking for some co-ops in your area that might work for you. There are a number of areas which are starting to form kind of like hybrid classical schools as well, where students will go in for class 2 days a week, and then they are actually at home the other 3 days a week. So the 2 or 3 days a week that they're actually at the classical school, they are getting instruction, they are being given assignments, they are being taught those lessons. And then as a parent, you're helping to facilitate the work that they need to do on the days that they are at home. And then you can also add in other subjects that might not be being covered by that classical school. That might be an option that you can look for as well, especially if you like the classical school model. If you've been looking into things like classical conversations or Memoria Press, and you like the idea of your student having some of that coursework, but you aren't really sure how to teach all of those subjects, it's a great way to kind of do both. So that's one option, is to actually kind of hand off the teaching to someone else, whether that is at a co-op, whether that is on an online platform, or even partnering up with another homeschooling parent who maybe has a background in something and can help you out with teaching. My daughter, for example, she had a friend come over for a whole year, and I taught both of them chemistry together. We got together 2 days a week. I taught chemistry lessons. We did labs together, and then they had assignments to do on those other days. And then we would get together and we would talk through them. And that was actually a lot of fun for her because she got to do something with a friend. It was good for the friend because I was a chemistry major, so I really enjoy teaching chemistry. I love the concepts related to chemistry. So it was great to be able to sit down and teach both of them at once. But if there was a subject that maybe I wasn't as good at, it would have been really nice to kind of like be able to do that handoff as well. Like say, hey, you could go and you could do the subject with your friend and their parent, and then, you know, kind of work back and forth on that. So a couple of ideas on that. My other suggestion, of course, is to do a little bit of homework as the parent. I'm not saying that you have to become an expert in every subject you're going to teach. However, I strongly feel that as parents and as their teachers, we have to make sure that we know what it is that we are expecting our children to learn. We should not just blindly be handing things over to our kids and saying, hey, go do this, and have no clue what it is that they are doing. When you decide that your student is going to do a subject, let's just say it's literature. Let's say you are planning a high school literature course and you know you want your child to read a couple of different books. Maybe you want them to do some comprehension questions or particular writing assignments, grammar workbooks. You've got to do a little bit of homework, parents. We need to look at the lessons that are coming up and refamiliarize ourselves with things. Grammar concepts, for example, you learned them. Whether you learned them as a homeschooling child yourself or you learned them in school, you were taught them. So you need to remind yourself of these rules and get familiar with it. These new curriculum are really great at providing lessons that should be pretty clear for your student and for you to follow. I mean, ideally, we are teaching our children how to do independent learning, but we've got to be ready to assist. We have to be ready to kind of jump in and help answer questions that they might have, to provide a little bit of guidance to help them work through problems that might be tough. If your child's getting ready to do a literature course and there are books that they're going to read, put those books on your TBR. Find out what books they're going to read before the school year even starts and make that your summer reading. And I know people are going to go, oh, well, I don't have time. We have to make time. We have to make time. I am an extremely busy person too. I understand how hard it is. But this is supposed to be our number one priority. If we're homeschooling our kids, if we are saying, I'm going to take the reins and I'm going to be responsible for my child's education, and I want my child to look at this as being important and being something that I want them to do well in, then I, as their teacher, I need to give it the same priority in my life. I need to say, okay, it is important for me to prepare this for them. It is important for me to know what it is that I'm going to be teaching them. And sometimes it's going to be hard. Sometimes it's going to be hard to fit in all the reading. Sometimes it's going to be hard to make sure that you've carved out the time to look over the lessons. Sometimes it's going to be hard to, remind yourself of like these math concepts you haven't looked at in 20 years. But we have to do it. I mean, parenting is hard. Teaching is hard. And trying to do both is hard. But it is worth it. If we put that effort into it, it is worth it. I will tell you, having one child who is out in college, I am seeing all of the benefits of all of the work that we did show. I mean, it is amazing to see how she is doing now in comparison, especially to kids in her class and what she's observing in comparison to kids in her class. So this hard work is going to be worth it. So make this a priority. Look over the material before you get into it, before the start of your homeschool year. Flip through lessons, ask yourself, is this something that if I put a little time into reviewing, will I feel comfortable teaching it? You will most likely say yes if it's something like writing, grammar, history, literature. Those tend to be subjects where if we give ourselves a little bit of review time, we can come back and help with that. That might be rereading a novel, looking over the comprehension questions or the essay prompts that come along with the curriculum, and reviewing those answers and making sure you're familiar with it. It could also be doing things like looking at some great videos. With literature especially, there are some fantastic videos on YouTube that provide analysis of different literary works. There is nothing wrong with you as the parent going online and watching some of these to remind you about what a novel was about, what the key themes were, what are some literary devices that are shown throughout those novels, how it is that you can teach those. There are great videos out there designed for teachers. Like, don't just look for videos that are designed for kids. Look for videos that are made for teachers that are there to help them know how to teach the material. There are wonderful history teachers online who have created videos that, again, are designed to help teachers be better prepared to tackle those subjects or to teach those subjects. So look for some of those resources, watch those resources, make yourself some notes, and use that to help prepare the lesson or prepare how it is you're going to present this to your student. So to bring all of this together and give a kind of cohesive answer to that question of what to do if you don't feel qualified to teach a subject. First of all, you need to look through the material first. You really do need to sit down, go through the textbook, go through the teacher book, go through the tests and materials, flip through it all, and really take a close look and ask yourself, is this something that I could learn to teach? If I put some time into preparing lessons and into reviewing this, will I feel comfortable teaching it? And in a lot of cases, the answer might be yes. Maybe you just need a quick refresher as the teacher. If the answer to that is still no, if after looking over these materials, after maybe rereading the novels, you still don't feel like you would be comfortable direct teaching this to your student, then you can look for some outside resources. Look for other homeschooling parents you can partner with. Look for co-ops that you can be involved in, hybrid schools you can be involved in. Online courses might be the thing that you need. And maybe that's kind of the route you go initially, right? When you're purchasing something like teaching textbooks or Sherman Math and so on, looking for online classes that will work best for your student. That might be the route that you need to go. So there are a lot of different resources out there. The one thing I want you to try not to do as a homeschooling parent is immediately kind of put yourself down and say, I can't do this. There's just no way. I'm not smart enough to do this. I don't know enough to do this. Because guys, that's a bunch of baloney. You are smart enough to do this. You can do this. Do not talk yourself down. If you are talking yourself down saying, I can't teach this to my child at all, there's no way I can help my child with this, what kind of a message is that sending to your student to tell them, well, sorry, mom and dad just aren't capable of doing this, but you know what? I think you can do it, right? No, you got to show confidence in yourself and your own ability, and show your child what it is to have that self-confidence, because we want them to be confident students. We want them to feel, yes, I can tackle this. Yes, I can do this. Yes, I can do hard things. And so we have to demonstrate that as parents as well. We have to show them that there is value in putting work into this and being prepared and really focusing in on some of these subjects. And so we have to lead through example in that. Anyways, that's some of my advice on what you can do if you don't feel qualified to teach a subject. Hopefully that helps you a little bit here. I know I have definitely had those moments from personal experience, right? Like I've always felt great teaching the sciences because that's my background. All of my college degrees are all in sciences, but I've also really loved teaching things like history. History is another subject I love. Literature, while I've always loved reading, was always something that was actually a little bit harder for me to teach. And when I talk about needing to go back and reread books and read through comprehension questions and read through like how to teach the writing, like I had to do that. I reread every novel that I assigned my kids, which was a ton of reading, but it was incredibly helpful to have gone through and done the same books that they did, to know the answers to the questions that I'm going to be answering them, to know how to analyze this book. Like that was something I had to teach myself again because it'd been a long time since I had done it. But there was such a beauty in doing it with my students and kind of going through that process with my students again. So I've been there and I've done that, and I feel a lot more accomplished having done that with my kids. It was a lot of work, but in the end, 100% worth it. Anyways, if you have any other questions related to homeschooling that you would like to see answered in the future, please drop them down below. If there are questions that I see kind of repeated over and over again, those might be ones that I then decide to tackle in future videos. I have a fair number of them that I have been kind of keeping track of that I know I will do some videos on in the future. If you also have any suggestions for people on this particular topic of what to do if you don't feel qualified to teach a subject, or if you have particular resources you'd like to direct parents to, put those down below in the comments as well. I know I mentioned just a few, but I know that the resources will vary depending on which part of the country you are in or what state you are in. And so if you have particular things that you think are great for your area, drop them down below. Maybe somebody from your area will also see this video and be interested in checking those things out. Now, thank you so much for joining me for today's video, everybody. I will see you in the next one. And until then, happy homeschooling.